Greetings, I'm Dr. Max Gomez, and welcome to the 5th International Vatican Conference. I'm here with Dr. George Church, who will share some of his insights with us this morning. Dr. Church, it's a pleasure to be with you, and thank you for being with us. Let me ask you a quick question, because so many of us attend these multiple scientific conferences, and they tend to be relatively narrowly focused. What do you think is the value of this kind of a conference where we bring so many different types and fields together?
It's incredibly important. A whole range of ethical issues come up in the rapidly, exponentially advancing technologies, like genomics technologies and healthcare and organ and tissue engineering, that we need to have broad engagement and two-way, multiple-way discussion with diverse voices. I think is extremely important.
There is so much going on in these kinds of technological enhancements, both in medicine and in, I guess, our human capabilities. What are some of the practical applications you feel of your work in particular?
Some of my work has spun off companies, so it's practical in the sense of agriculture, gene therapies and delivery mechanisms for therapies, and most importantly, diagnostics. So next generation sequencing is 20 million times less expensive, and this is empowering all kinds of infectious disease and inherited disease and other diagnostics and research tools.
I suspect this is part of the ongoing conversation, particularly in your panel. Are there limits to what we can do and limits to what we should be able to do?
Well, there are very few limits to what we can do, and it's an exponentially advancing set of fields. There are certainly limits to what we should do. Certainly safety, efficacy, and equitable distribution of these technologies are paramount, and there are organizations dedicated to those. I think also, avoiding violent uses or uses without proper consent would be top priorities as well.
The question for those sorts of things always becomes, who gets to make those decisions?
Well, who gets to make the safety and efficacy decisions are the FDA, the EMA, and other international organizations. The equitable distribution is up to the United Nations, philanthropic organizations, and so on. Very often the nations are not ideal at that. And then in terms of nonviolent and non-consenting, that is something that should be national and international accords.
So you mentioned disparities. How do we reconcile these disparities and try to ensure some sort of equitable access to these powerful technologies?
Well, we have a few examples that we need to embrace and celebrate and replicate. These include things like smallpox, polio, guinea worm, and so forth, where they're extinct and therefore free to all people for all time, without need for drugs and vaccines. Vaccines got us there in some of those cases, so that those are clearly very cost-effective and equitable. But there's some huge opportunities because of these technologies are, 20 million times less expensive. Some of them. That is one way to achieve it. The other way is through government action. So both technological and legislated.
Dr. Church, thank you so much for your insight and your time today. We look forward to hearing more from you in the future.
Thank you.